Well, hello, everybody. I'm Zias Caraval, Principal Analyst with ZK Research, and I'm delighted to be hosting this WebexOne customer panel on hybrid events and beyond. This is a topic I am passionate about. As an industry analyst, events are a part of my life. Pre-pandemic, I'd say conservatively, I'd attend 30 to 40 in-person events per year. Now that companies do them virtually, that number has actually gone up, and my experience across them is quite varied. So I think some best practice here is really interesting to talk about. As we come out of the recovery, or as we start to recover, I do expect in-person events to return. I've been to two since June, and I've got four more scheduled through the end of the year, and they all have something in common, and that is that there's a virtual component to them. So nobody knows what the future is going to hold. I know as an analyst I'm supposed to, but I have no idea what this world's going to look like in 6 months. But there is one thing I know it's true, and that is the future of events is hybrid, and that's what we're here to discuss. Now, as far as hybrid events go, it's been a pretty amazing year to hear about the future of events and how companies like Socio will help power virtual events and drive engagement along with platforms like Webex in the future. And I do want to introduce my two customer guest speakers now, both who have recently powered successful events using Socio, a company recently acquired by Cisco. First up, I want to introduce Mary Richter, Events Director at American Medical Spa. Mary, why don't you say hello?
Everyone.
And also Amy Freeman, Production Lead at Hewlett-Packard.
Hello, everyone.
So now, Mary, first question to you. You recently returned to an in-person event, augmented with Socio as your key partner. Can you walk us through the event and share some of the learnings you had, as well as how you were able to put health and safety first without sacrificing the attendee experience?
Sure. So obviously some drastic changes needed to happen in order for us to host our event in person. Government safety regulations, hotel procedures, and then internal association guidelines for in-person events as well. We brought together over 600 attendees to the venue, which, as you see, included socially distanced seating and required masks. We also made sure no indoor close quarter receptions were held. Masks and hand sanitizer were placed throughout the event. Sessions had an occupancy cap. And we also had a server-attended create-your-own boxed lunch with individually wrapped items that was arranged daily, among other safety measures. We also made sure our attendees felt welcome, even though they were 6 feet apart. We had an expo hall, but also made sure the exhibitor offers were available digitally for those who wanted to keep their distance, but still explore product launches and show specials. And we really tried to anchor our attendees' experience around our fantastic speakers, which really was an exclusive experience because you had to be there in person to hear some of the keynotes. We did keynotes that were not necessarily also on our virtual after party program. We had attendees do video testimonials on site, and many mentioned the safety protocols and guidelines we put in place, which we are using to market future in-person meetings. We also had some amazing stats I would like to share to really show the engagement went beyond our expectations. We had 7,956 attendee profile views. We had 6,975 connections made, 3,289 completed challenges, and then 4,069 attendee wall engagements. So as you can see, while we hosted a fully in-person event, we complemented the experience with the Socio event app and live display to help immerse attendees in the community as they created it. And they really responded positively with the amount of engagement they had while staying safe.
Thanks for that. And I'm really impressed with the way you were able to keep attendee engagement high while also ensuring everyone was safe, healthy, and comfortable. And I know right now there's a lot of fear and trepidation about going to events, but it sounds like you really managed to address that well. So congratulations on that. Now, Amy, you host your yearly program-wide event virtually on Socio's platform, and I'm sure it was a challenge for you to pivot from in-person to virtual. Can you walk us through some of the experiences your attendees had and how you were able to create a space where they could still have meaningful engagement, even though it was virtual?
Yeah, so with our program, our employees are spread out across the country, and they rarely get the opportunity to interact with one another. They may only get to see their neighboring coworkers a few times a year. and then people from across the country once a year at our yearly HP Connect event. And so it was certainly a challenge to go from this in-person event to completely virtual, but I think that we certainly pulled it off, and that was all really attributed to the fact that the Socio platform really allowed us to pull that off very well. So one of the important things for us was that we wanted to make sure that our attendees were really familiar with the platform beforehand to minimize some of the technical difficulties that could come up otherwise. So what we did was we created a walkthrough for them and aired that on one of our weekly program meetings. And so that gave them a nice introduction to the platform. But we also opened up the app a few days early before the event, and we encouraged them to get in there and start exploring on their own before the event so that they would be really comfortable with the platform. So I think that really worked out very well. Another thing that that we did was we really took full advantage of Socio's social wall feature. This is HP Connect, so we want everybody to have a fun time connecting with one another. And we did create profiles for everybody that we registered. So everybody had a profile picture, so that when they connected with one another, they could put a face to a name. And they really loved the social wall feature. It was so awesome to see them getting in there and posting pictures of their workstations and their family and their pets, and just having a really good time posting things in that social wall and making those connections even after each session was over. So that was really, really awesome to see. And it happened so naturally too. Another feature that was a really big hit with our attendees was the gaming feature in Socio. So we really loved that feature because of the fact that it was simple enough for anybody to get into the game and start playing, but it was also really flexible so that we could customize it to our liking. And what we ended up doing was we pretty much placed game codes everywhere we possibly could. So we put them in the walkthrough video. We put them in every feature that we were using within the Socio platform to also get them engaged and get exploring the application. We also put them in our pre-event work that they had to complete prior to the event. We put them in our session surveys. We even had them pop up in the broadcast so that we could make sure that they were paying attention to the content. We were even throwing them in the announcements and into the social wall to make them really use those features and connect. And they absolutely loved it. I mean, everybody was playing the game. We had a lot of great friendly competition going on there. So that was really amazing to see. Some other things that we did was we sent them all some Connect swag gear. So they always love that gear every year, and we related it to some of the activities that we would also be doing. So one thing that we did was we created a talent show that was optional, and so some of our attendees definitely took us up on that offer and showed off their talents, and everybody loved watching that, even if they didn't do a talent show entry themselves, because they got to see some of the unique abilities of our team members. And then we also, on the last night of the event, invited a Food Network chef to show us how to make a really delicious dish. And so we invited a few of our attendees to cook alongside of her. And so they had such a good time, and then everybody was having a great time cooking along with her, watching their teammates, and then just watching the engagement. And so they had a lot of fun with that. And I think they really loved the fact that we had a celebrity chef just for them for this event. So we did a lot to keep them engaged and keep them connected and have them have fun at the same time. And I think that was really important for our event. And to see some of the feedback, they ate it up. They said that this was a 5-star event, that this was our best Connect ever, and that they wish that we could have Connect every single month. So to have that kind of feedback, I think really speaks to not just what we did to make it a fun event for them, but also the fact that we were able to really leverage the power of Socio.
Well, congratulations on a successful event. And my big takeaway from this is, as a person that attends a lot of events, I can tell you I get bored out of my skull listening to presentation after presentation after presentation, but you seem to have nailed it on the ability to keep people engaged. I love the gaming aspect of it as well. One of the pieces of advice I give IT pros now and CIOs: hire gamers, because the gamification of business is certainly becoming a bigger part of every organization's strategy. Mary, I'm going to go back to you now, and you spoke about keeping your attendees safe and distanced, but I would imagine that created a new challenges for your attendee engagement at the event as well. So I'm curious to know how you encourage safe interactions and what your thoughts are on how we should think about attendee engagement moving forward in a world that's going to be predominantly hybrid.
Sure. So it's easy to build excitement when you are in person, but it was a challenging because we wanted to keep socially distanced. So we really leaned into what event technology could do for our attendee engagement while still staying safe. And I don't really see that changing as we move forward. We utilized the Socio event app to help attendees engaged with a huge live display in our registration area on site, where we were able to show attendee posts to the social wall, networking connections, and then also announcements at the event, as well as build excitement by connecting the live display to our website. So anyone that visited our site during the conference could see what they were missing, which created major FOMO for our audience. Due to safety protocols and room capacities, we preloaded everyone's agenda into the Socio platform ahead of the event, so attendees could have early access to their schedules. We also uploaded an event map to help attendees seamlessly navigate the conference space. Our group loved the Shake to Connect feature in the app, where attendees could simply shake their phones to create new connections nearby, which also helped in terms of social distancing. And then in addition, the app gave us the ability to gamify our event to promote some friendly and fun competition with prizes that were awarded at the close of the program. And while this was an in-person event, we created what we called a virtual after party for those who could not attend in person. And while the in-person event offered up to 10 CME hours, the virtual after party offered over 40 hours of CME, in addition to bonus content that was not found in person. And this allowed both the in-person audience and those not able to attend to extend their opportunity for CME hours. We also offered the virtual after party as an add-on to in-person registration to create a seamless and easy experience for the user. So powering our event on Socio was a key piece for our user experience. It kept our audience engaged, and we were able to communicate throughout the event safely. It created additional offerings for those who were not able to attend and gave us a backup plan in the event we did have to pivot to virtual only.
Yeah, I love the FOMO comment, because nothing drives user adoption like FOMO. And I tell you, as a person that attends a lot of events, I can tell you the one thing I hate more than anything is not being invited to the event, because I don't want to miss out on anything. So, congrats on that. I'm gonna stick with you, Mary, for the next question. You've had some great learnings from your events, and we know that the future of work and the future of events is going to be hybrid. And so, how has what you learned going to shape your event strategy going into 2022?
So one of the critical pieces of our event strategy is definitely finding the right partners to ensure our goals are met and provide the best user experience possible. In our current climate, it's critical to find a partner that can pivot if needed and bring solutions to the table. So from my point of view, our organic engagement and connections would not have been as high without the technology of the Socio app. But just as important, if not even more important, was that the Socio team helped us get the results that we achieved. They were there every step of the way. So I'm excited to see what enhancements are in store for the future for both in-person and hybrid as we go into the new year.
Yeah, well, it was technology that allow us to go fully remote, and it's going to be technology that allows us to go hybrid. But I think the important part of what you just said there is the right partner is needed to enable you to be successful. Now, Amy, I have a similar question for you. The virtual event experience, as you mentioned, people, the satisfaction was never higher. So you can almost argue that the virtual event experience is becoming better than the in-person experience. It's debatable, but now that we have all become hybrid event experts over the past 18 months, what are your plans for 2022?
So we were hoping that next year's HP Connect would actually be in person, but with some virtual elements worked in. But we've already decided to go completely virtual again next year. And so we're going to be investigating some ways that we can really up those interactions, make it even more about connecting and engagement. And we learned some things from our past event, and we want to use those as lessons for ourselves going forward. One of the things that was really awesome to see with our last event was that we had this one speaker that had a really powerful presentation, and our audience just connected with it so well, and it ignited this really organic conversation on the social wall, which was really awesome to see. That was, without any prompting from us. They were posting all these pictures and having this great conversation. And so I really think that these types of events are starting to level the playing field for how attendees can connect not just with each other, but also with speakers. And so we want to use what we've learned to really get our attendees to have more face-to-face time with one another and with our speakers and our sponsors, and even better engage them with their content. So we are really excited to explore what we can do with our next virtual event, and eventually, hopefully, with a hybrid event in the future.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with everything you said there, Amy. I do have one more question for you, though. And with HP being a WebEx customer since 2018, and you're also a Socio customer, you did that for your events. And as we know, Socio was acquired by WebEx. How do you see this combination of WebEx and Socio coming together to create an almost the ultimate event experience?
So after hosting a virtual event in Socio and having used WebEx meetings and messages, I'm really excited to see how this partnership is going to come together to make collaboration and engagement even better in this now hybrid world that we now find ourselves in. So I think that the ability to more easily be able to communicate with teammates is critical, and to be able to create a unique event experience that's really fun for attendees and be able to do that in one suite is definitely going to be a game changer and lead to that ultimate end-to-end event solution. So I'm really excited to see what comes of this partnership, and even more excited to start using it.
Well, that was great. And I do want to thank both Amy and Mary for your time. I just have a few closing remarks and from some lessons learned here. If we want to summarize what we just said, I think the first is that events should be interactive and engaging to create memorable experiences. Again, we've all sat through those boring events, and it's very hard to keep people's attention. So that interactivity and engagement is something you heard both Amy and Mary talk about as being key to creating a successful event. Also, event format should be digital forward to optimize the in-person and virtual attendance. We've digitized almost everything in our lives. Events, not so much, but the pandemic certainly forced us into this role where we do have to digitize them. So think digital first as a way, even on an in-person event, to augment that experience. Lastly, events should be seamless and inclusive for all audiences, no matter how they attend. Just because you attend remotely, you shouldn't have a degraded experience. Technology has evolved tremendously over the last 18 months, and we can all create an environment where everybody can be inclusive, no matter how they attend or who they are or where they're attending from. And I've heard the good folks at WebEx say, if you can dream it, you can post it with WebEx. And I think that's a salient point, because I think in both case studies here, what was important is Amy and Mary rethought how events were to be handled, how they were to be conducted, and they hosted it using the Socio platform, which is now a part of WebEx. But I think it's important that everybody think really out of the box about the ways of engaging differently and bringing new experiences to bear. And if you do that, you'll all be successful. So on behalf of Amy Freeman and Mary, thank you very much for joining us in this session. Hope you all have a great rest of your WebexOne.